What's up, Christ fans? Welcome back to A Canticle for Leibowitz Part 3. I'm here, of course, with Sarah and Danilo. And Danilo, Sarah has a question for you.
Okay, I'm all ears.
Danilo, if you had a second head, what would you name it and why?
I'd probably name it like Stan.
Stan.
No,
Danilo
Dan.
and Stan.
I'd be Dan.
Danilo and Dan.
Danilo and Dan.
Danilo and
That's
Dan.
quite good. That is quite good. And yes, of course, we're talking about Part 3 of Canticle for Leibowitz by Walter M. Miller Jr. A lot of M's in this gentleman's name. Fiat Vantulis Tua is the name. It means thy will be done. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Lots of Latin in this section. Boy, do my eyes glaze over the Latin a little bit.
Big two heads section. If you like,
Yes, yeah.
folks
If you like
with two
people with two
in
heads.
this. Yeah, that's
so in following the trend of the other two sections, there's been another hundreds-year-long time jump, and we are now back, or are we forward in sort of the ways that man arrives at ideas?
Yeah,
you know
there's
what I mean?
highways.
You know what I mean? There's
there's
highways.
sky-
There's
there's
self-driving
skyscrapers.
cars. There's
There's
that
cops.
What's that car that killed that cat in San Francisco?
Huh?
A Waymo.
What?
Waymo?
Yeah, there's Waymo.
Yeah, there's Waymo.
Well, there's starships. It's
There's
3781.
There's already colonies on other planets, not extra solar colonies, mind you, not yet. But there's
human
there are
colonies,
human
yeah.
colonies on Mars and stuff.
And
We've
these
arrived in
monks
classic.
are still
Yeah.
around.
Yes, they are, and we've arrived firmly in one of my favorite periods of sci-fi, pulpy 50s, 60s sci-fi nonsense. But instead of focusing on that, we focus on what people are calling the most boring guy ever. And I don't mean that to give away how I feel about this section, because, as well, I want to save how I feel about it, because I know that you two, or at least we may have alluded to it previously, have differing feelings about it. But
Danilo and I feel differently?
I believe so, yes.
okay.
I mean, this will be maybe this will be an interesting section to talk about.
Yeah.
And for you listening out there, if you are unfamiliar with this book, it is very famous in sort of the way that it's certainly not as famous as Dune, but it shares that sort of like literary science fiction standing with books like that. And
like it's sci-fi, but it's good, and that's
Right.
its thing.
Yeah.
And then any good sci-fi gets elevated to literature, and any good fantasy, you don't want to jump off a roof anymore, as we've discovered through this show. But this part is sort of famously disputed because of, I would say, two diatribes that the main lead goes off of, that some people interpret as Walter Miller tipping his hand as to his opinion, and to what other people feel like is just you're not supposed to be reading it into it as if it's Arthur Miller's thoughts, death of the author, and all of that good stuff. So, Sarah, would you like to lead us into how this section starts?
Yes, and I think I think it will be best if we just go in order of the book, because the part that is controversial comes about halfway through.
Should we catch people up to speed?
And I think there's a lot of stuff in the first half of the third part that's worth talking about.
In case there's any lunatics out there, should we catch them up to speed on what the first two sections were about?
Yeah,
Sure.
We can do like rapid fire.
Yeah, so you can do it if you
Sarah,
you want,
rapid
if you
fire
feel confident.
section 1.
Okay, section 1, it's slow. It's about a guy named Francis. It's slow.
The
It's
first thing in my
boring
rapid fire summary is saying it's slow.
Well, but it's slow and like a methodical, and like the world is slow, so
yeah.
the section is slow. It's about Francis,
Yes.
and we learn about this abbey, and they are preserving the memorabilia, which is the artifacts from the world before the flame deluge, which is alluded to be some sort of nuclear apocalypse.
To pull from the log line of the book, it is the future Dark Age.
The future Dark Age. Yes, and it's about him and his journey. And if you want to know more, you can listen to the first part. And then
That's
the second part is about we're like right on the brink of Renaissance time. It's 600 years after what happened with Francis, and it's about this scientist coming to the abbey to try and extract its scientific secrets so that he can further the knowledge of humanity, or the scientific zeitgeist, if you will.
And we will.
And we will.
And there's just a lot of interesting conversation. And then now we're at part 3, which is about 600 years after that.
Yes.
And so I think, long story short, the scientific progress worked because now not only are there spaceships and roads and police people, there is also
There are
nuclear bombs again.
Yes,
but they've been outlawed.
Well, the creation of them, ironically, was not outlawed, but the testing of them was.
Yes. So you can have them, you just don't know if they work.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
you can't use them, you can't.
And there's no law about being able to create them via extraplanetary resources, which seems like a hilarious oversight.
Yes.
If I'm remembering correctly. It's literally like maybe the second line of the book, this section they talk about it.
So what's fun about part 3... You go ahead.
I was going to say, the section starts off crazy style.
Oh, I know the first sentence.
It's like a tone poem that leads into a newspaper interview.
Yeah.
It's awesome.
And what's fun about that is like on each point or each part, like the voice is very distinct. And it's very reflective of where humanity is at that time. So like I said, part 1 is slow.
Yes, indeed.
But it's because humanity is slow. And then part 2 picks up the pace as they're picking up the pace. And part 3, right away, it's like, boom, 1-2 punch. You are in this world. It's fast. We're going. There's a lot of different things happening because that's what the world is like.
And Sarah, you're a woman. How do you feel? It's first reporter, second reporter, and then female, and then lady reporter. How do you feel about that?
I think it's good. Well, she's a female reporter because she's secondary. Do you know what I mean?
You're crazy. You're not making any sense. No,
she's like a lady of the realm. I think that's what they mean.
Lady.
British,
so
lady reporter.
Lady reporter.
Reporter's last name.
About Mac.
We
learned something about Mac and how he reads books.
No.
Yeah, Mr. Defense Minister became Defense Minister, and Lady Reporter became
Lady Reporter.
First reporter became first reporter.
So yes, it's a crazy, as Danilo said, it's an intense tone poem into newspaper interviews, into meeting our point of view character, Jethris Zerchi.
Jethro?
Well, and before that, I think it's an extremely efficient way of like explaining the information about like the geopolitical thing. The geopolitical situation, because it's like, okay, there's countries, there's like politics again, there's reporting because there's reporters, and like there's the defense minister getting asked questions about like, oh, China tested this bomb, we think, is the US gonna respond? And like, we don't know that they responded. And it's like, do you have a nuclear testing program? And he's like, we don't have a testing program. So it's all this like, you get a sense that like the world is like caught up to where we are now, more or less.
Yes.
Especially to where they were in 1959, which is when the book came out.
In this song too, or whatever, they reference a bunch of things. Like they talk about Caesar, and they talk about Babylon and Pompeii. So like seemingly they have learned about the old world pre-flame deluge.
And it looks like they've sort of learned. They've learned a little bit from the past, where like they did outlaw nuclear bombs pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. Like they were sort of on top of it. So they sort of know what happened to the last world. But like, did they learn their lesson well enough? I guess we'll see.
Yeah. And it's I also, there's a part in the song I just can't not point out. At the very beginning, or it's like he had a good wife, but he left, right, left. And then they have this part in German, and they're actually quoting like a, I don't even know what you'd call it, like a Nazi war song. Like,
oh, really?
That line is from like so they learned about everything.
A Nazi marching song?
Yeah, and so they learned about everything, and you have to, I guess you don't have to believe, but like Walter Miller was inspired to write this book post being a veteran in World War II and amidst the Cold War, so he doesn't put that kind of stuff in there for no reason. But yes, it's all very It gets you up to speed, and then you come to the, like Max said, the point of view character and his funny little telegram that he can't work.
Now this is good stuff.
Now this is me with ChatGPT. I'll tell you what.
It's like, what is it even called?
The autoscribe.
The autoscribe, yes.
The abominable autoscribe, because he's mad at it. And abominable
it won't
is
work.
In capital letters. Yeah, it won't work, or it's backward. It's just like mirrored letters, and it's getting capital letters.
He's trying to write a letter, like dictate a letter to this computer that's as big as a room, and it's broken and won't work. And he's like, it's like it's very slapstick.
And he's messing with the switches, and he's like, why don't then another brother, a monk, is like, why don't you just mess with the switches? And he like points, and there's like a do not mess. It's like a big red sign that's like, do not mess unless within factory. And he's like, well, I only touched it a little bit. I think it's fine. And he's like, last time I fixed one of these, there was a rat in there, so I think I can do it. But he almost got shocked to death. It's a bunch of funny.
Yeah, a bunch of silly stuff. I think the humor and the parody is strongest in this part.
Well, the book, I think, the whole thing is hilarious, because I'm going to jump ahead and just put the cart before the horse. The book ends with the nuclear bomb going off and killing everybody, again.
I mean, that's the next important thing that happens, really. I don't really know, leading up to that, what else happens? Like, we sort of get a sense of, like, the Abbey. It's sort of like where the church is in our current world. Like, it's not really that important. There's some people sort of cling to it. Like, the Pope is a global figure, but it's sort of, like, politically irrelevant. You know, like, they're not leading the charge in the world the way they were in sort of the last two sections.
But I say, like, the fact that the bomb goes off and we just sort of hang out with this useless schmuck the whole time, I think is funny. Like, I do think it is, like, very darkly funny. Yeah. Oh, yeah, and saying something. But I think the whole book is still funny. Like, regardless of whether or not, characters are getting shocked by big, funny computers, it's like, the fact that it happens again is, like, very, to me, darkly comedic in that it's like, well, of course. It's like, you the guy who gets his hand, constantly slammed in the car door. It's like, man is constantly going to be doing this to themselves.
Inventing nuclear weapons and bombing themselves into the Stone Age.
Yeah,
pretty much.
And though I think the way they find out that, like, this nuclear bomb, like, there's a question of, like, who's testing it? Or, like, did one go off in the Pacific? And the science-y monks are like, oh, hey, there's more radiation in the atmosphere, so, like, that has to be what happened.
Yeah, and then they, like, pretty much, like, they know whether or not the government will say it or not. Like, the monks and the people of this town know, because people start trickling in and they, like, have physical damage from
radiation.
Burn.
Yeah, it goes off in, like, the next, like, for some, we're not really sure on the details, right? Like, there's a big flash at some point, and, like, the city that this abbey is in or next to,
like, the next town over.
Yeah, gets nuclear bombed.
Because there's the one that's not in the abbey, but it's somewhere in the U.S., and then so people start coming to the abbey. And then there's the one at the very end, which is like...
Yes, we'll talk about the first one.
Yes, the first one. So the first one is like what drives everybody in. And that's where you really get to meet like the people.
It's Texarkana is what they blow up.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, like the capital.
Which we spent a bunch of time in the previous bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we meet some important people. We meet...
Brother Joshua,
and we meet the Dr. Kors, and then who's the lady?
Mrs. Gales?
Mrs. Grails. Yes, and her...
Subtle.
Did you know I didn't put that together?
I didn't
It's just
either.
like Danilo and Stanley
Bowitz all together. I once again have to say, I've woken up like 2 times over the past week. I cannot believe I didn't put together that the town of Stanley Bowitz is just St. Leibowitz.
We love it.
I need to return my English degree to my university. Anyway, I just need to get say that again.
No, that's okay. Something on that same note, something I realized reading this third part, I don't know why I realized it now, but St. Leibowitz, or whatever his name is he's an electrician, because Jesus is a carpenter. So it's like the same. It's like if the carpenter can be the guy, then so can the electrician.
Oh, he's
I
like a
that
trade. Yeah, he's like a trades person.
I thought that was cute. Okay, but yes, we meet Mrs. Grayles, and the special thing about Mrs. Grayles is that she has sort of a smaller second head hanging off of her neck.
That's sleeping. It has its eyes closed.
People, she keeps wanting it to be baptized by the priests or the church, and they keep saying no to her. She insists that it's alive. They all say, no, it's not alive. It's not a second person. It's just a deformity. But she has named it Rachel, and that becomes important.
Yeah. Yes, Mrs. Grayles has a second head. We see the old hermit again, but this time he's just getting rocks thrown at him by neighborhood kids.
And what's his name?
Oh yeah,
in this third part?
Yeah.
And what do they call him?
They call him Lazarus.
Lazarus.
The man, for all you Batman fans listening, you might know the Lazarus Pit, owned and operated by the League of Assassins, where Jason Todd returned back from the dead, famously, of course. I mean, we all know this. Sitting here, we know this. We love this.
Named after the first guy to come back from the dead, Lazarus.
Of the Bible.
Right.
Of the Bible. And the important thing about Lazarus, who's not really in this part, which I think is interesting, because it's like...
That's his only appearance, is getting rocks thrown at him.
Well,
he's mentioned
and maybe
later.
At the end. It's sort of a debated point, but...
Yeah, I think it's not.
You don't think it's him getting on the starship?
No.
Spoiler! We'll get to there.
Anyways. He is, like, less in this part, which is interesting as, like, humanity gets more and more developed. He is, like, more and more pulled back, and maybe you could just say, well, it's because his way of life doesn't change, but also it's fun. But the one thing that I think is important too is the abbot doesn't know him, and I think it's the first time in this like book where the church doesn't know who he is or recognize him as somebody, so they don't know who he is.
He doesn't have a relationship with
he's just some
the
dude.
Religious people. Yeah.
Which could say that perhaps the church has grown more insular and perhaps
or like lost its connection with
the people,
what it's supposed to be doing, or the people, or its role in this world is changed or different somehow.
Which is actually a pretty good segue into the part of this book that is most controversial.
Yes. So plot wise,
Danilo.
There's a bunch of funny abbot stuff. Next big thing that happens, someone nuclear bombs Texarkana. Doesn't really matter who. It's like the League of Asian Countries or whatever. Who cares? It doesn't matter. The point is that like these refugees, like these injured, start like coming over to near the Abbey. And there's I don't remember what the group is. It's what this universe's Peace Corps, right?
Yeah,
they're like the green
cape, the green
hat,
hats,
like the UN,
green
they're
stars,
like
the
Doctors
green stars.
Without Borders. Yeah, they're like Doctors Without Borders or whatever. And they've set up these tents where like to treat these people who are suffering from like radiation sickness and stuff. And we learn that one thing they do is they offer like euthanasia services. If like your radiation is so bad that like you're just gonna suffer and die, they like give you a ticket and you like walk down to another tent and they
it's sort of like
euthanize
a sad
you.
carnival, you spend your tickets on getting euthanized.
Well, and they call
instead
it
of a carousel.
Like the abbot calls it a carnival, and he says he hears like calliope
music literally plays.
And so the controversial, or not the controversial part, the conflict is between the abbot of this church, who, it's the Catholic Church, they think euthanasia is wrong, all human life is sacred. He will not let the Green Stars or whatever like set up their thing, their like aid station, if they're going to be doing that here.
Well, and because they're housing refugees at the abbot in like this courtyard area, and he agrees to let the Green Star like doctors treat people and be there as long as they don't recommend euthanasia to anybody. He's like, you can be here and you can do your thing, but if you recommend euthanasia to people, I have to ask you to leave, because like, and he's like, you can have your beliefs and I can have mine, but you just can't do that here. So they end up setting up the mercy camp like 2 miles down from the abbey, rather than inside or next door.
Because they have a really intense dialogue where the doctor's like, oh, so they're supposed to suffer for no reason, and the abbot is like, yeah, but like God thinks it's good, you know?
Yeah.
That's basically his point.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that he believes they should die naturally, and the other man is like, why should they needlessly suffer? If they're gonna die.
But then the abbot says like, oh, you're just making it really like neat and tidy, and like you're making the suffering that this bomb has caused sort of like invisible by like neatly disposing it. You know? Which is, I think, a valid point to a certain extent.
And he does let him do it, and he promises, Dr. Kors promises that they're not going to do the euthanasia. And then Abbot Zerchi goes up to a tower with binoculars, and he's like, wait a minute. There are a bunch of urns over there. Wait a minute. There's a bunch of firewood for some sort of cremation. What the hell? And so he realizes that they are. He let them use the abbey's courtyard or like at the zone near the abbey, but they're just going to do it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so now the thing is like anyone who is suffering really bad and wants to like do this euthanasia thing has to walk like 2 miles down the highway. And the doctor is like, you're making to the abbot is like, you're making these people suffer even more by having to walk 2 fucking miles down the way. And the abbot is like, well, you can't do this thing I think is wrong on like in our area. So,
but they do set it up in the area, and they do start euthanizing in the area. And the abbot's like, you can finish whatever it is you're doing, but don't ever like expect to talk to me ever again.
No, I think he was saying like finish giving people their tickets, but then you have to leave because they set up the camp away.
Are
from
you
the
sure?
Abbey. Yes, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah,
I'm pretty
he's
sure
like
they set it up
like
at the abbey.
He's like finish giving out your tickets, and then you can leave.
Yeah, he's like finish doing your thing, but you're gonna have to leave.
Him being Kors has to leave.
Yeah.
The doctor.
So.
Well, whatever. Regardless.
I want to ask you, Danilo, what you think before I say what I think. Because a lot of people read this section and feel that it is preachy, and I want to know if you are of that opinion.
So it is. When I was reading this, I was initially like, well, this is very pro-lifey. In like the Catholic way of all like suffering is somehow like good, you know. I went through Catholic school, and like there's this whole like Christian, maybe I think it's probably more older fashioned now, but I think it like runs through Catholicism where like, oh hey, Jesus suffered on the cross to die for our sins, therefore like all suffering is given by God to us to like help us redeem ourselves, which it personally I think is really fucked up. On the other hand, I sort of see that as an answer, a possible answer to like the problem of evil. Like, how can God exist, or why can there be all this good in the world with like all this horrendous suffering? Where like the answer to that is sort of like you give your suffering some sort of meaning. Now, the issue is, do you choose to create more suffering when you have the option not to? And does that make you like more holy or good? I don't know. I don't think so. That sort of seems to be what this section is like asking, because, you know, there's famously like, you know, Mother Teresa's a complicated figure. The most flack she gets is she ran this hospital for like suffering poor people. She refused to give them anesthesia because she thought suffering was like good. So there's like all that I think is going on in this. I initially was like, okay, Walter M. Miller's clearly like pro-life Catholic guy. Of course, he'd write a section where like he thinks that this is what should be good and say what it is. But I think in the later on it complicates it a little bit. I don't. That was sort of rambly.
No, I hear you.
I think it's more complicated than just like that straightforward reading. I would venture some of the things from Abbot Zerchi or whatever, his mouth, are things that Walter M. Miller believes. However, I think Walter Miller was smart enough to set up the narrative to where like it questions those things and doesn't land on any clear like point like in the scope of the whole narrative. So that's what I think.
I agree. Mac, what do you think?
I think the scope, like the narrative, is calling him a fucking idiot because like he feels so strongly about this, and then he just gets blown up anyway. Like, if the story was like he's right, then he would not get blown up. But the fact that
he would die and go to heaven, and God would be like, "You did the right thing." Like there would be like that sort of cosmic answer. But like
he doesn't die and get eaten by birds, and there's a shark there too. Like I think their argument is not less or more preachy than in either of the other two sections where two people are arguing differing points of view. I just think because it's about like something we can relate to more. The instinct might be to jump to like, because even at the end he says to Mrs. Grails, he's like, hey, if you're asking for absolution for an abortion, I'd love to do it, but I can't do it. You're gonna need to find a different guy. And then he gets blown up. So the story even says like they're willing to forgive that type of thing. It's just that this book, like this section, I think is really genius because it's about like, what the hell would the three of us be able to do if just they decided to launch a nuclear bomb into the city we live in? Like, it doesn't matter what opinions we hold or what we were trying to do. It's over.
Exactly.
Or what the Pope says, you know?
Like, right.
The abbot is like, I have to stick with what the Pope says because, like, that's what I know is right or wrong. But the situation the world is in is, like, putting situations in front of him that, like, oh, my morality doesn't compute with this complicated situation.
Yeah. And I think they both make compelling arguments, but just me personally, I would be like, yeah, the people who want to be euthanized should be euthanized, but it doesn't matter what I think. I think the story isn't taking either stance, just like I felt like it hasn't been the whole time. And in fact, I find by the end of this book, the book to be pretty anti-religion because it follows the efforts of these religious people, and they're proven to be like angry, shallow idiots and can't do anything to save anybody and get blown up. And I know it's like hypothetically, if Abbott or Tom Tellio or whatever and the other Abbott from the previous from the previous section didn't get his hands on the technology, there wouldn't be nuclear bombs. And so you might be like, oh, then the book is saying that the Abbott of that time was right and that they shouldn't have had it. But like, well, no, because during that time people would die of like coughing a little too hard. And so it's like blood would be on either person's hands either way. So I think when you come out of it, the book in a bold move isn't saying anything.
Well,
no,
like,
I
mean, I don't know if it makes sense to sort of skip to the next plot point is a nuclear bomb falls on the Abbey. Abbot Zerke is like buried in rubble. And the whole plan is like they send off, the Abbey of St. Leibowitz sends off a delegation on a starship to go start a separate colony with like all the memorabilia information
in a different solar system, nonetheless.
To like a different solar system.
Way.
Yeah. So like that brings into question the like, so they were holding on to all this information and like, what was the point? Because everyone blew each other up again and created all the suffering. Like, okay, yeah, we had technological progress, but like maybe Brother Francis from Section 1 was like just as happy working on his manuscript for 30 years that was then stolen as like anyone in this world, because like Brother Francis didn't have to have his whole city annihilated with a nuclear bomb. He just like
he got shot
died
in the head
of old age, you know.
No,
he didn't. He got shot in the head.
He got shot in the head with it.
He got shot
regardless,
he famously was
shot in the head.
Regardless,
he makes a comeback at the end here.
He does. Regardless, it's like, but you're still right. Like, his town didn't get exploded by like what they perceive to be the actual devil. It's like he was just killed in like senseless violence. And there's senseless personal violence. This violence in the second section starts to get more, or starts to get less personal with Hannigan, right? Isn't that his name? He's referenced here a bunch of times.
They're like starting war, and it's
they're
the
starting
first war
wars,
ever or whatever.
And then here it's I keep doing it. It's the least personal war. It's just people in offices firing bombs at each other.
Mac, that's a great point, and I even wrote that in my notes. I even had a whole bit about that in my notes where I wrote something along the lines of like, this whole book, right, all three parts, it's people playing power games with each other, and always to their detriment. So, like, in the first one, like, they're pointing fingers and shifting blame always. And it's just like you said, in the first part, it's the Abbot and Francis. It's on a personal level. They're having these conflicts. And then in the second part, we level up a little bit. There's conflicts between the cities and the church and the tribes. And then in this part, it's countries and continents. So we've, like, grown to the global level. And again, the personal level between the Abbot, the woman and the child that he's trying to prevent from euthanizing themselves, and Dr. Kors. But the game and, like, the problems are always the same. It's always this, like, ego game, this power trip. It just is enlarged. And, like, the whole thing is about, like, how we don't change and our inability to change kills us. And I want to call back the poet, because the poet looms large, because he, like, being in the middle of this story, points out all of it, right? If you go back and read, like, he's pointing out all of these things, and he refuses to take part until, of course, he does when he sees that woman being murdered. And it's like the whole thing is like, we can't stop, like, our humanity. We can't stop being human, for better or for worse.
And you have to imagine what with the planets and the colonies, the conflict just gets bigger, because now everybody's on different planets. And then presumably they're going to a different galaxy.
They're going to
not
presumably
galaxy,
they can
but
fire a nuclear
system.
Bomb at, like, the moon, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
It's just going to get worse and worse.
To that.
And I think this world, this is just back to the euthanasia question. I think it's actually really interesting and natural for, like, in the world of the book to start, like, considering euthanasia, like, to put that in the book, I think is really smart, because it is very complicated. It's not like, he's not saying, like, oh, euthanasia is good, euthanasia is bad, because the arguments for and against both are very fleshed out. And I believe that if he was, like, just trying to be like, and euthanasia is bad, he wouldn't make such a strong pro-euthanasia argument. Like, he wouldn't.
And you could say, if you didn't want to euthanize people because of fallout, don't drop a nuclear bomb, you know?
Right.
And
so,
it's
like, there's that level of it, too.
What does it say about this world where they, like, have to condone euthanasia? You know, like, instead of trying to, what does it say? What have they done to themselves where they need state-sanctioned euthanasia? Because they know the consequences of the bad thing, but instead of not doing the bad thing, they just, like, put in these measures to make it not, like, just to take care of, to keep it neat and tidy for themselves. Like,
well, and then there's that, like, mix. There's that the central complication is, like, it is neat and tidy for the people who are responsible for all this suffering, but also, like, it's couched in this, it's more, like, comfortable for everyone. You know, like, the people who are suffering have to suffer less. The people who caused and witnessed the suffering, like, don't have to witness it anymore. And it's sort of, like, tucked away, you know, and, like, being sort of, like, ambiguous about that. I have a relevant section I would like to read that I thought was very beautiful. The closer men came to perfecting for themselves a paradise, the more impatient they seemed to become with it, and with themselves as well. They made a garden of pleasure and became progressively more miserable with it, as it grew in richness and power and beauty. For then, perhaps, it was easier for them to see that something was missing in the garden, some tree or shrub that would not grow. When the world was in darkness and wretchedness, it could believe in perfection and yearn for it. But when the world became bright with reason and riches, it began to sense the narrowness of the needle's eye, and that rankled for a world no longer willing to believe or yearn. Well, they were going to destroy it again, were they, this garden earth, civilized and knowing, to be torn apart again, that man might hope again in wretched darkness.
It's so, I wrote that part down too, Danilo. I'm glad you read that.
So there's, like, something with the idea of when you have everything, what do you do with, like, what does that do to humanity?
Yeah, do you need it? Like, do we really need it all? Or are we...
Or, like, why? You know, like, it's like, do you have all this stuff and you stop asking why, maybe, I don't know.
No, I like that. And coming back to the abbot, I think it's natural because he's like the person that we're seeing everything through. It is in third person, but it's like he's our guy. And so it's natural for people to read this and be like, whoa, this is really... And like the first time I read through it, I was like, now this feels different.
We forgot... sorry to point. We forgot like the main point with the abbot is there's this woman and her baby. Like...
Yes, he's trying to prevent them.
Yeah, there's like specifically a woman and her baby who like got their cards to go get euthanized, and he's like, he tries to like stop her, and like then he's like guilting her with like the threat of hell, and then he's like, oh, okay, you can do it, but you can't choose for this baby. But like that's also
abortion.
Right, but then that's also very convenient that like the baby can't argue with the priest, and I think that comes up a little bit too, like.
Well, and
he contradicts himself. He says he gives this sob story about how he had to kill this cat, and then he was like, "But it was okay for me to make that decision because it couldn't logic and reason with itself." But then he's like, "No, you can't kill this baby. It can't. It doesn't have like logic or reason." And it's like, well, wouldn't that mean she can do it because the baby does not have any logic or reason? If that's what Abbot Zurchi's like definition of humanity is, free will and logic and reason, the baby doesn't have that. So,
and I think from the abbot's perspective, I think from like Catholic Church doctrine perspective, like it is come across as like pro-lifey, because I think like it is, but like I think what it's showing is like that way of thinking about things is like so ill-equipped with like the moral complexity of like the real world and like power and suffering and like all that. And this abbot wants to draw this line to be like, what you should do is like the right thing, even though like there is no right answer here. Like every answer's fucked up. And I think that comes up later because he keeps saying like, God does not give out suffering that like we can't handle, when literally the bomb goes off and the whole abbey falls on top of him and he's in immense pain. He's like, oh boy, I guess he didn't quite realize what I was asking that woman to deal with. I'd better like deal with it. And he sort of comes around to be like, man, maybe I don't know what I was talking about because this really fucking hurts.
He does dig his heels in and he says, I was not wrong, but he's like, damn, this sucks, but I was not wrong. But his character is like, the first thing that happens when we meet him is we're introduced to his flaws. Like the first thing he says, he's like, I have this drive that could be considered a vice one day. And he is like, not... Because, yes, he's letting the refugees stay there, but he's not doing anything for them. He's not tending them. He calls them noisy.
He's just like, we have an empty building. They might as well use it.
He wanted to tell them to be quiet, and instead of being among them like a priest would, or like it says in the Bible, to be among the poor and the sick, he goes up to his tower to read and be alone because they're bothering him.
He knocks a dude's lights out.
Yeah. And then with this woman where he like... he's driving them and he's like not gonna stop by the place because she said she was going into town. He's trying to catch her in a lie or whatever.
He like teases her too. He like slows down.
Well, and he like commands her not to do it, and he says, I command you in the name of God. And he's first of all judging rather than shepherding. He's commanding rather than leading by example. I'm pulling on my raised Catholic knowledge to point out his hypocrisy. But it's like, just because we're seeing the story through his point of view does not mean that we're supposed to think that his point of view is correct. Because we see all of these things that he does that are wrong and like that are not good for anybody. And so when he's like with this woman and her baby and they get out of the car by the mercy camp, one of the people comes up to him, I think it's Dr. Kors, and they like start having a disagreement about it, and he punches Dr. Kors and he like tries to knock him out, and a policeman comes up to him and he's like, who do you think you are doing this? And like the other thing that we should point out before I finish this thought, the abbot in all of his wisdom, instead of doing anything for the people, he creates a bunch of signs, and he has his monks
so cringy.
go and march outside of the Mercy Camp.
Literally a pro-life protest.
Literally a pro-life protest where it says, "Abandon all hope, ye who enter here," trying to dissuade people from going into the Mercy Camp and using their ticket.
Meanwhile, his abbey's full of sick people that they could save.
Yeah. Yes, and
is that from the Bible, or is it from?
It's from Dante's Inferno. Okay. It's from Dante's Inferno. But he punches Dr. Kors in the face, and the policeman comes up to him and he's like, "Who do you think you are? Who do you think you are?" And he goes, Who do you think I am? Doesn't this mean anything to you?" And he points to his big abbot crucifix, and the policeman says, he's like, "Not when the guy wearing it punches somebody in the nose." And so it's like he has a lot of these really strong opinions, and he's very stubborn, and he digs his heels in. He's unchanging until the end. He's stubborn until the end. And a thought that I had reading this part through again, is like, he is the exact type of personality. His personality type, were he in a different position in the world, if he were in a position of power, he is the exact kind of guy who would drop the nuclear bomb again. Mm-hmm. Because he's so, his flaws are so in that vein, where he could do something, rather than admit that he is wrong. Rather than admit that he's wrong and try to change his point of view, he would rather, drop the nuclear bomb again.
And I was thinking about this, because every section is from the point of view of an abbot of the Abbey of St. Leibowitz. More, I guess the first section.
Not the first one, but anyway,
we get I was thinking, are they different in any way? But all the abbots are sort of the same in a lot of ways. They're sort of stubborn and lowercase c, conservative, and worried about their religion and doctrine, and doing the right thing with the Pope and everything. And I think this is the first time we really sense that that doesn't fit into this world, that's been created, which I think is interesting.
Abbeys get more
the world has outgrown the need for this sort of religion, but on the other hand, they all go on a spaceship to continue the order later, and oh, will that be needed down the road? But also, will that just result in the same thing again? And who knows?
Right. And it's the church, because what is the church really doing in all of these parts? What are they really honestly doing? They're playing the same games, and it's very apparent in this part, because they make their own starship in secret, and they have to play all of these red tape games to try and get their guys on the starship.
Well, they have a hilarious hiring process for monks at the Abbey. They say, "So, do you like Jesus Christ?" And they say, "Uh-huh." And they're like, "And then would you just happen to know how to operate a starship that would fly out of this solar system?" And they're like, "I mean, I guess." And they're like, "Well, you're in."
But it's the whole time they remain so uninvolved, and they do nothing to stop the rise of evil until it's so powerful that the only thing the abbot can do in this part, honestly, is take the moral high ground, because they've so limited themselves and so isolated themselves that he has nothing left to do but preach and be and this is the right thing to do.
Well, they're just going to fire, and they just fire a nuclear bomb almost directly on top of him anyway.
Yes.
It's just you can't do anything.
Yes, and I think if it didn't end, what I love, and we'll come back, this is just about the abbot as well, but because it ends with him, after the explosion, he's having this whole inner monologue about damn, this hurts, Danilo mentioned, and it's but he says, he's I was not wrong, but dang, this sucks, and then he has this whole thing.
He says he's the problem with the world is me. He's talking for Dr. Kors.
Oh, I wrote that down too.
Trey's try that on for size, huh?
Yes,
he's
exactly.
Bleeding out, holding pieces of a statue of Christ, and it's you are the saddest.
Or no, he gets the Eucharist. He's some of the Eucharist spilled on the ground, and he's trying to save it from the dirt. Which what an apt. What a metaphor, huh?
Yeah, what a metaphor.
Subtle. Religion in this world. Yeah.
Yeah, and I love that part where he's the problem with the world is me. Ha, think about that, Dr. Kors. Because for a moment you're oh, maybe you'll have a change of heart. But then you're no, actually he's still being a stubborn dickhead. But it ends after all that, and he tragically dies, or maybe not so. I mean, that's how everybody in the town died. We have...
Well, not everybody.
Well, I want to come to her.
He talks to someone before he dies.
I want to come to her. But if it didn't end with, on that last page, it has the monks taking off in their starship. And somebody who I believe is Lazarus. Mac maybe doesn't think so. But then it ends with this shark. Let me read it to you. A wind came across the ocean, sweeping with it a pall of fine white ash. The ash fell into the sea and into the breakers. The breakers washed dead shrimp ashore with the driftwood. Then they washed up with the whiting. The shark swam out to his deepest waters and brooded in the old clean currents. He was very hungry that season. So it ends, that's the last line of the book, with this shark, and like the shark eats the shrimp, humanity eats it itself, but the shark still eats the shrimp. And so if it didn't end with something like that was so like removed and like apathetic, I would be more inclined to believe that this part was very preachy.
It's also the only time all the chapters or the sections end with animals eating. It's the only time where the animals are explicitly hungry. In the other two sections, they're full because of all the dead people, and then in this one, they're hungry. I don't really know what to make of that aside from the obvious. It's like, oh, now everything's really fucked up, but something to think about.
Yeah, I think it's like, the issues that like humanity deals with like are always sort of the same cyclical issues, but like it's all overlaid on top of this, I think, this like sense of nature or earth or like space that like we're a part of, but we don't fully understand. And I think like, with the sharks, like sharks are older than trees. Like sharks have been the same for so long. And humanity is like so new relative to all that. And like, we're all dealing with our shit and like coming up with technology and ideas and like religion as a way to like explain the world or like to deal with the world and its like complications, and I think ultimately at the end that coming up short, which I think is, if we could talk about who comes to visit the abbot as he's dying, I think it's part of that as well.
Yes. So story-wise, the abbot is meeting Mrs. Grayles for confession because she wants to confess to him. And that's where they are. They're in the confession booth when he starts seeing a bright light shining through and he realizes that this is a nuclear bomb. So he tells both of them to run, and then the explosion takes place. And then what happens to Nello?
Well, so he's pinned under, his legs are pinned under him or whatever. He's feeling sorry for himself and thinking about all the things about suffering that we talked about. But then like he hears a voice or some sort of singing voice, and Mrs. Grayles comes over, but it's not Mrs. Grayles anymore. Her head that was her normal head is now asleep and hanging limp, but her like second head is like awake and its eyes are open, and I think it has like green eyes or something.
Rachel.
And it like sort of talks to him, and he's like, oh man, he like tries to bless it, and it doesn't quite get it. And
it speaks, only repeating back to him what he says. Like he'll be speaking to it and then it'll just say back to him what he said. But then, let me find it, because it is, like, he says, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, help. And then he hears, Jesus, Mary, Joseph, help. And he's like, what is that? But he starts to try to baptize it.
What a loser.
Well, because that's what Mrs. Grayles wanted. All right. Let me find it. And it says no. And it, like, tries to stop him. Well, it doesn't say no, it just recoils. It stops him.
Like a vampire. Maybe this is the start of I Am Legend.
Hang on, I want to find it.
His funny neighbor is going to show up who is fucking his wife or whatever.
He's going to be so horny.
He got no further than that. She leaned quickly away from him. Her smile froze and vanished. No, her whole countenance seemed to shout. She turned away from him. She wiped the trace of moisture from her forehead, closed her eyes, and let her hands lie limply in her lap. An expression of complete passivity came over her face. With her head bowed that way, her whole attitude seemed suggestive of prayer. Gradually, out of the passivity, a smile was reborn. It grew. When she opened her eyes and looked at him again, it was with the same open warmth as before. But she glanced around as if searching for something. And then she picks up the host that fell on the ground, and she offers him the host as if she is baptizing him and giving him his first communion. Because then it goes on to read this whole description of her feeding him the holy host.
And the only word she says in the whole section is, she goes, live.
Yes. Cool fingertips touched his forehead, and he heard her say, live. And then she was gone.
And then he famously dies.
And then he died. Bored, but did he? According to Rachel, because the abbot also this is a whole different topic. What's great about this book is there's 1,000 topics, but and I really
that's the one thing that if you don't like this book, you're like, hey, at least there's some topics here.
There's several topics you could talk about because the abbot has a dream where the head is talking to him. And he's trying to make out what it's saying, and he's like, what is this saying? What is it saying to me? And it says the words Immaculate Conception. And so he has this dream where the head...
Well, that's before,
the second head, yeah.
Yeah, that happens before.
Before, and then is the Immaculate Conception. And then in his death, as he's dying, and she's feeding him the communion, he, starts praying and starts believing that is true. And he's like, how did I not see it? And he, accepts that her second head... is the Immaculate Conception, and I want to know what you think of that.
I don't know.
I honestly, because the radiation poisoning head turns on after the bomb goes off.
Yes. There's been no other magic except for the old man who lives forever, so it's not as if it. The book would lead textually. The book would lead you to believe that yes, you are right. The radiation activates Rachel.
Yes.
Well,
yes,
and I think to me what that's sort of, and having the abbot, right before he dies, maybe I think he actually dies, but is being.
I think Sarah meant he goes to heaven.
Yeah.
Oh, sure.
Yeah.
I think being faced with that is because there was all the discussions about do you baptize the head? Is the head alive? Right. Not whatever. It's I think it just shows that the world that we live in is more complex or mysterious than any creation of human belief can be applied to it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think Walter Miller is ultimately wrote a book about hey, religion is this human thing, regardless of any metaphysical reality or non-reality. Religion is this human thing that is an attempt to deal with the world and its complexity, and it has some utility in certain aspects, but then falls short in other aspects, the way that the way that humanity falls short in dealing with or explaining the complexity of the world.
Yeah, it's a complicated thing. And essentially he's pointing out our human flaws, and it's well, just don't be an asshole, Mm-hmm. When you close the book at the end of the day, he's don't be a stubborn asshole. Just accept that some things are maybe beyond your understanding, and that can be good enough. That doesn't have to be any more than that.
Two things I want to bring back that happened in previous sections. I think in this section, the abbot in his office has the carving of Leibowitz that they were making in the first section. The one that's the one where he's smiling.
Yeah.
It's in the second section that was put in storage because that wasn't the right way we wanted to portray Leibowitz. But now it's back because there's a different understanding of Leibowitz, and I think that's a fun, interesting way of thinking of how religion changes how it feels about things as time goes on. The second thing is when the abbey explodes from a nuclear bomb, the abbot sees a skull that's several hundred years old that has an arrow hole in it, which is Brother Francis's skull. And doesn't he muse on it, Hamlet-esque, for a little bit?
He does.
He does.
I don't remember what he says.
He does.
So yes, the world is destroyed again, but that's not how the book ends. Go ahead. Did you find it?
I just thought of my thought, and it was when everything blows up and he like finds the head and he's looking at all the rock. You can't help but think that they're gonna rebuild the abbey with the same rubble.
Which happened the first time.
Which, I think tragically is not what happened to the abbey that Walter and Miller bombed in real life. I think it just stayed destroyed.
I think so. What were you going to say there?
Well, the book ends with the monks board the spaceship. They had this scene that sort of made me laugh where they're boarding the spaceship. They look over to their left. They see a nuclear bomb. They're like, whoa. Anyway, they keep boarding the spaceship.
Like a movie.
Like a movie. And then they leave with the shark and stuff. But a guy...
Well, they don't leave with the shark. They don't take the shark.
That'd be awesome! Shark on a starship.
Saint Shark.
That would be a shark ship.
Shark ship, it's like Sharknado.
And so we get... There's no dialogue here, but there is sort of like a POV character that I think is just supposed to be Joshua. But you think is Lazarus?
I think it's Lazarus because he's wearing
Joshua the brother
sandals.
that they hired to go in the spaceship.
Yeah.
Yes. And he speaks in Latin and he says, I don't know,
yeah, but so does everybody speak.
But he says, thus passes the world, which is a very wanderer thing to say. And he... Hang on, I want to see if I can find it. Give me a moment. Let me just read this.
So the last monk, he scratched a beard. Does brother Joshua have a beard?
Yes, explicitly he's bald but has a big beard.
Okay, all right. Hang on now, just relax. I just think it would be really interesting if it was him because then he's like, well, the guy I'm looking for is not here. I have to go somewhere else.
He's on Mars. He's the Martian Manhunter.
I have to go somewhere else. I thought I remembered from the first time I read it where something like that is said, but I must have dreamed it or misread this. Can you look this up again? Is that what it means, thus passes the world?
It means thus passes the world.
Oh, perfect. I don't know. He just felt because I find it hard to believe that that's the only time that he would appear in the book. Especially because it is my personal opinion. This book does not have a protagonist, right? But I think that the protagonist is the Wanderer. And his point of view is the one that you are meant to sympathize with the whole time.
Can I be pedantic here a little bit?
Sure.
The protagonist's role in a story is to advance the story.
Okay, but I mean the hero.
He's the through line. He's
the
like
through line.
He's the hero.
Yeah. How is he the hero?
He's the hero in my heart.
I'm genuinely...
I know what
just
you mean. He's the connecting character.
Well, and I think the things that he believes, I think you're supposed to take the most heart with.
Yeah, sure.
Whereas you're supposed to take the things that the abbot in part 3 says, and you're supposed to be like, well, this guy's kind of a jerk. But, like, his point of view, I think, is most representative of Walter M. Miller's point of view.
Yeah. Maybe.
Sure. Like, taking the long view of history and humanity and being like, I don't know. I'm just
how
would
he be let on the starship? It was secret and only the monks were invited.
Okay, but I don't care about that. That's just logistics.
I think we don't know. Like, him always being alive is the only really, like, magic thing that happens in this. And, like, we don't, like, is it the same person?
Right.
Like, it's also not explicitly... I feel like in this... I don't know. It's like... I think,
it's a little it's
the
more
same person.
Explicit in the second person, but they're never like... Nobody's ever like, hey... He's never like... Well, I guess he kind of is.
Remember how I helped you with that fallout shelter 400 years ago? Like, it doesn't say that.
Right.
And it doesn't say the last monk, Brother Joshua, got on the starship.
Right,
he leaves it ambiguous on purpose.
But he scratches his beard, which Brother Joshua's been doing the whole time.
Well,
his beard.
And so has the Wanderer.
Has he?
Yeah, he's got a beard. Come on now. He doesn't have any shaving cream.
Do you think they go to Mars? Do you think they find an alien there? What do you think?
I think War of the World starts. I think this book ends
on the other world?
No, on... Well, sure. Yeah.
No.
Apocalypse, then War of the Worlds? We can't catch a break.
Oh my God, Tom Cruise, save us.
Oh no.
And then another Mission Impossible. Oh my God.
No, Mission Impossible Fallout for real this time. Sarah, I'm really happy we've had you here doing this. You are very knowledgeable, and I think your appreciation of this book and certainly your Catholic upbringing has helped bring an understanding that me growing up unbelievably secularly would have totally missed. So I'm happy that you and Danilo are able to chat about the Christian aspect,
the Catholic
of it.
nerd shit.
Yeah.
Well, hey, it's been great, and there's so much religious stuff that there's just not enough time to talk about it all. We didn't even talk about why his name is Joshua. I mean,
which I couldn't tell you. Why is it? Well, isn't Jesus' name Joshua?
No, it's Jesus.
Well, it's Yeshua, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which is Josh.
I wonder if it comes from the Josh Christ.
No, but Joshua, he's the one who Joshua fought the Battle of Jericho. It's where the walls came tumbling down.
You gotta watch your Veggie Tales.
Yeah.
No.
Well, no, maybe it is Joshua getting on the spaceship, because Joshua is also the one who leads the Israelites to the Promised Land following the death of Moses, or maybe Moses is still alive.
Oh damn! I was just gonna say something
about Joshua, and the walls came tumbling down. It's pretty good.
Well, the walls do come tumbling down of the world.
See, there you go. See, this is the kind of thing that we're all thinking about when we read it.
Oh, I also have to say, if you're listening to this and you're not religious, but you like sci-fi, I think you will also enjoy this book.
Yeah, because I'm not religious, and I like this book a lot.
Great.
So there you go.
Just asking those questions. It's not...
Yeah.
I don't think it is really pro anything. I think it just asks a lot of...
Hey, pal, I'm just asking
it's
questions.
Inquisitive.
It's
an inquisitive book.
Normally you don't get pro or anti-euthanasia discourse in a science fiction novel, so that's fun.
You do.
But it's interesting, and I think it's a really, it's complicated, and I think he's got feelings about it. It's not one way or another.
No. Well, Sarah, do you have anything else to say about a Canticle for Leibowitz? Because after this, it's over.
I'll leave you with this last quote, and this is on page 246 of the book.
For those of you reading along.
It's kind of a dire quote, but I think it really sums up part 3. If we're born mad, where's the hope of heaven?
Wow. And may that truly be said of all of us. Huh?
And may it.
And may it. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. This has been Canticle for Leibowitz. Little did you know, it took about 7 months to record these 3 parts.
It was the forbidden episode for a while.
But we're back. We're back.
But we're back
with a vengeance. We're going to be
so
reading
back.
books. We're going to be telling jokes.
You can look forward to the next
them.
time we record. Did we say which one is first or no?
I think I'm first.
Yes, I think you are. The long-awaited.
I will be reading the second book in the A Court of Thorns and Roses saga, A Court of Mist and Fury. I've been informed it's better. Sure,
but I've taken a less stinkier poop, but that doesn't change the fact that it's still shitnable. But yes, and then following that, I will be, of course, reading Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros.
Well, you guys have fun with that.
It's a little different, but we do this. We read The Dispossessed and we talked about that and we said, wow, what a story. Anyway, back to
making fun of stuff. That's fun. Not
you need everything.
So, what do we all think about euthanasia?
Yeah.
That's not. I don't know if that makes for a fun podcast. As good as the book is.
I guess now we have credits to do because thank you to, I won't say her last name just in case she doesn't want to hear it, but thank you to Caitlin for doing our social media and marketing from not this point you're hearing it, I guess, because we didn't mention it last time, but she's been cooking up stuff for a while. You can actually start to follow us on social media as there will be actual content because she is actually doing it because Danilo and I don't like doing it, and she offered to do it, and it's very, 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 very kind of her. So shout out to Caitlin. I don't know if you're listening to this, but if you are, thank you. You can follow us on Instagram at Hardcover Hooligans. You can follow us at TikTok at Hardcover Hooligans. I think there's a actual video up there now. By the time you're hearing this episode, I know for a fact there's some videos up there.
And again, if you leave us a review on anywhere where you can write a review, and if it's funny, we'll read it. That's a promise. That's a Hardcover Hooligans promise.
The one review on Apple Podcasts, very nice. We really appreciate it. And of course, our one piece of fan mail, which we really appreciated. You can, if you want to send us any mail with any questions, or you want to talk about a book, you can do so at our email account, hardcoverhooligans@gmail.com. I think that about covers it. Sarah, is there anything you'd like to plug?
No.
All right.
All right. Well, thanks for being on the podcast.
What about College Possible?
Oh, yeah, if you happen to be a junior or senior in high school and your school is a partner of College Possible, you should join and get free college coaching from one of our many AmeriCorps coaches.
That's pretty
wonderful.
Good. It's through AmeriCorps, is it? So does that mean it's everywhere in America, College Possible?
No. That means it's in select states, including Minnesota.
Minnesota, which we famously record we eat Juicy Lucy's and we drink hams every episode. So thanks for listening, everybody, and stay Christian?
No, we said that last time and it wasn't funny.
Stay
nuclear. Stay nuclear.
Stay nuclear.
Stay nuclear, guys.
Stay nuclear.
Stay nuclear.